there is a move afoot where all of these scribes, at least the conservative movement, are registering these in a central place.
You raised an interesting question on that one. I was doing a little research for our talk today, and the question is whether it can be a printed form.
No, all has to be done by hand. And in the old days, I mean, it's still done today by some couples, where you actually go in with a scribe. Since the get has to be perfect, exactly the way it's 12 lines, and the lines have to be nice and neat, and everything has to be spelled correctly, the scribe will make a mistake. Once, twice, 3 times. He'll write it and say, oh, I made a mistake. Why? He's hoping that the bride and groom, the husband and wife, being in the room, all of a sudden they're going to see the light, they'll reconcile.
Interesting.
When actually I see it's just more pain to the couple. So we usually do it differently, where we present it on behalf of the husband to the wife without him in the room.
What's the cost? I mean, that's the question is, of course, as a divorce mediator, I get all the time, is, well, what's this going to cost?
Okay, right now, the way I do it, it costs $500. I don't keep any of it. All goes to the scribe for materials and to get his Beit Din together and things like that.
Okay, and who usually pays for that?
We usually ask it to be split by the bride and groom. They each would pay half.
Once again, I think you mentioned this earlier, but I want to make sure. Is there something about it being torn? You said that we were talking about the covenant.
I send it back to the scribe, the get itself, and then the bride and the groom, the husband and the wife, each get what's called a patur, a document of release. But it would be torn to show that the get was used, that it was written specifically for that couple, and you can't pick it up and say, oh, I know 2 other people with the same names, here, we'll go let them get divorced too. Because you have to remember, the law develops at a time when you have a closed society and a lot of people have the same names. So you could be in a town where 2 couples have the same exact names, husband and wife.
Once again, I think you alluded a little bit to this. Are there any other differences between the Orthodox, Conservative, and Reform movement in terms of Jewish divorce?
Well, the Reform movement doesn't require it. The Orthodox and Conservative, basically, we're the same in terms of how we follow the law, but I don't think Orthodox rabbis would agree with that statement. But a lot of rabbis, whether the Orthodox or Reform, don't agree with each other. So it's just, it's the way it works.
The question I would get asked in a civil divorce very often when somebody wants to get remarried very quickly, is there a time frame, and how fast after you get your get, you can get married?
Well, usually it's a biased society that once a woman is divorced, she usually has to wait at least 90 days. You want to make sure that she's not pregnant. And the man usually waits 30 days. But he can get married. It depends. Depends if you have children, are there other extenuating circumstances. But there's usually a waiting period to make sure that we know if the woman is pregnant, who the father is.
Is there any waiting period prior? I mean, once again, in a civil divorce, very often there's a cooling off period.
No.
But once they get this...
No, but again, we do this after the civil divorce is complete.
We've been talking a lot about divorce. Maybe we should talk a little bit about the other side of this. We have a little bit of time left about the procedures for Jewish marriage. One of the things that you've already mentioned it before, but what is a ketubah?
A ketubah is a Jewish marriage contract. In the classic rabbinic text from the 1st, 2nd century of this era, the rabbis talk about 3 ways in which a man acquires a bride. I'm sorry to put it in those terms, but that's the language they use. Okay, and one is through kesef, where there's a monetary agreement made with her father. One is through biyah, which we would call, I guess, common law marriage. If the 2 people are living together and want to be understood as a husband and wife, then we acknowledge them as husband and wife. The third is through what's called a shtar, or a contract. Now, in the Middle Ages, that contract morphed, you might say, into a new type of thing, which we call a ketubah. And the ketubah was introduced in order to protect the bride in case of death or divorce of the spouse. It outlines what the financial obligations of the husband are to the bride, and that she will be protected and supported in case of death or divorce of that spouse.
I want to go back about the procedure, but I love some of the terms that people do. The other term you always hear in Jewish marriage is chuppah.
The chuppah is the canopy which the couple would stand under, and it's said to symbolize all sorts of different things, not the least of which is this idea of biyah, or common law marriage. It's the home that they're building together. Also, I like it because it reminds us, a chuppah is just a plain canopy with no walls. Usually you have 4 poles, sometimes 4 special guests would be honored by holding it up, but there are no walls, to remind us that marriage is, I tell couples, the wedding's for everyone else, the marriage is for you. Marriage is a process. it's very easy to step out of bounds, so to speak. So by having no walls, the couple is showing the determination right from the beginning to have a strong commitment to each other in the shadow of this chuppah, that is in the terms of relationship, which they're consecrating at that moment. It also reminds us as a community, as we're sharing that moment, that we have a responsibility to help them maintain the statement and the posture that they're undertaking for themselves at that moment.
Are there certain requirements for Jewish marriage?
Well, from where we are, from where I come from, they both have to be Jewish. One has to be male, one has to be female. And there has to be consent. They have to both want to do it.
No same-sex marriages in Judaism?
Well, there are some rabbis who will do them. There's conversation going on in different places. You know, and I feel there's certain marriages I won't do, because when people want me to do a wedding, it's not Bob Eisen they want. It's me as I represent Jews and Judaism. I remember when I was first ordained, I was in Rochester, which is an hour away from Syracuse where I grew up. And I got a phone call from someone. She wants me to come do her wedding. She's a couple years younger than me. I sort of knew who she was, but why do I want to do her wedding? So I talked to my senior rabbi. I said, what do I do? He said, call her and ask her. I said, good idea. So I called her and asked her. I said, let me ask you, why do you want me to do the wedding? I mean, we know each other. I said, come in, I'll spend the day. It's no big deal. It's an hour away. She said, well, the rabbi that's doing the wedding at the synagogue I belong to doesn't wear a kippah. Said, you wear a kippah, and I really want someone with a kippah to help at my wedding.
Kippah is
a yarmulke, a head covering. So I thought, well, I'll put it in an envelope and mail it to you. Then you can put it on the table. There it'll be. But you know, so people, I represent much more than just Bob Eisen, and it hurts to say no to certain situations, but it would hurt me more to say yes. But the jury's not out yet. Things may change. When people ask me, do I do this? I say, not yet.
We've got almost our 2-minute warning. I wanted to ask you a little bit before about premarital counseling. If you can give us a quick, very, very quick comments on what you do on premarital.
Most of the time when people come to me, I'm the last on the list. They've already got the date. They've got the important things like the caterer, the videographer, the photographer. All that is in place. And they come to me and say, by the way, we're getting married on this date. Are you available? I try to meet with couples, but by the time they come to me, they've already made their mind up, and there's not much I can do except hopefully in a couple sessions help them open their eyes to what they're getting themselves into.
We are running out of time. We could go on this for a long, long time, but I really want to thank you very much for being on Divorce TV today. It's been a fascinating conversation about, I've learned, and I thought I knew a lot about this stuff, and I've learned a great deal. Once again, you can get more information about our program by quickly looking at our website at the beginning. You've been watching Divorce TV with Rabbi Robert Eisen talking about Jewish marriage and divorce. I'm Wally Marcus, and look forward to seeing you next time on Divorce TV.